Hi, I'm Shane. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I've been trying to get back in traditional art making. So I've been digging out my art supplies over the past few weeks, and I came across this set of Rapidograph pins that I got a little over 30 years ago. So I'm not an expert on these pins by any means, but I do want to talk about the quality of them because I gotta say I'm impressed. So about 1993 or 94, when I was in college, a good friend of mine, he lived about 4 or 5 hours away from campus, and he had gone home for a holiday, and he was wanting to come back, but he could only make it halfway, and he asked if I would drive to pick him up at halfway at a truck stop. So I did, and he gifted me this pin set as a thank you, which was extremely generous of him. I didn't know anything about these pins at the time. I still really don't know a whole lot. I know back then they were used a lot by engineers and architects and some comic book artists and cartoonists and people like that use them. Ink is not really my favorite medium to draw in. If I had a preference, it's usually at the bottom of the list. And a lot of times when I would draw with ink, it would be with like a quill type pens because I could get variations in my lines through pressure. These are very precise, so they have a consistent line based upon which size pen you use. Each one has a different size tip on it. But what I want to talk about with these pens that has impressed me so much was right after I got these pens, I used them for a couple of years whenever I would have ink assignments. And then after school, I just put them in a box and didn't use them anymore. And they were kind of wherever I would live, they would be in a box in my house. And that continued for about 10 years. And then they went into storage in a building behind my house, no climate control, and they have been in there for 20 years. When I didn't take care of them, I didn't clean them before I put them away. So for the past 20 years, more than that, 30 years almost, they have been stored with the old ink still in them. And when I found these the other day, I was pretty convinced that they weren't going to work just because I knew I hadn't taken care of them. But when I saw them, I was like, hey, I'd like to try this. Maybe pick this up again and see if how things go with me drawing with these pens again. There were a couple that worked right away. They worked right out of the box. Now this building that they were stored in, it has been, as I said, there's no climate control. They have had temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit and down to -5 degrees. So, usually you have something like that. The temperature variations will affect things like that. The pens that had, the ink stored in them that where I hadn't cleaned them, it had all kind of gunked up and dried. But I cleaned them. I didn't use they have a recommended cleaning solution that you're supposed to use. I didn't have that, so I just used sort of a diluted rubbing alcohol mixture, and I don't know that I would recommend that, but it did work for me. And after cleaning them, taking them apart and cleaning them, they all work great. They all work perfectly. And one thing, too, that I'm really impressed with is this ink bottle that was in there I may have replaced it once back in the mid-90s, but this ink bottle is from the mid-90s, and it's still fine. I was able to use it. I kind of wish that I had the forethought to photograph or record the condition that the pens were in when I pulled them out of storage. But so I'm going to draw with them a little bit here and show them to you. I still have my ochre pods from when I did the graphite drawing a few weeks ago, so I'll just draw them in my demo. My ink drawing skills are lacking, but I plan on using these pens a lot more in the future, so I know I'm going to improve with practice. This brown one was always a favorite back when I used to use them. It was the one that required the most cleaning after I rediscovered them. My set came with a couple of these little discs. They're called nib keys. They act sort of as a wrench to remove the nib so you can clean them. They have this refillable cartridge that attaches to the back of the nib where you can put your ink, and then you shake the pen back and forth to charge it with ink. Now, since some cartoonists use these pens, I thought I'd draw a little cartoon, something simple and fast. It will probably be obvious by the time I'm finished that cartoons aren't my strong suit either. I'm doing a cartoon here of an artist selling his art at an art fair. I don't know if any of you artists have ever set up a booth at an arts and crafts fair, but sometimes you wind up in a venue that isn't quite suited for the art that you make and sell. The clientele there aren't the people who usually buy your work or your kind of work. It happens sometimes. It's been a very long time since I tried selling my work in an event like this, probably back when I was in school. But I did actually organize an event like this, and I know that happened to some of the artists that came, that they complained that it wasn't the right fit for them. So I'm drawing this farmer-looking guy, and he's going to be stopping by the booth, and probably not going to buy anything. But you never know. Sometimes they'll surprise you. Sometimes the guy that looks like the farmer might actually appreciate your art. Now, in this drawing, I'm both of these guys. I'm the struggling artist trying to sell his art, but I'm also this guy over here that goes to the art fair in his overalls and flannel shirt. Can't judge a book by its cover. So going to that, it reminded me of a story, something that happened to me. Several years ago, I had a show of my paintings in this one city, and there was going to be an opening reception, and my wife and I went up a day early so we could kind of see the sights and check out some art, eat some good food or whatever while we were spend the weekend together. So we went out one day to walk down the streets, and we visited a museum and several galleries. And I was pretty much dressed like this. I had a cap on, probably a camouflage cap. I wear those a lot. They go with everything. And I had on a flannel shirt, probably not this flannel shirt, but a flannel shirt similar to this. Now, I don't dress like this when I go to art receptions. I generally dress up. I wear a tie. I try to look nice, This is just my casual wear half the time. Sometimes it's just a t-shirt or whatever. And we walked into this one gallery, and the guy kind of looked at us funny, and he said, "Are you lost?" And I said, "No." I said, "We were hoping we could look at the art if that'd be okay." And he said, "Sure, that's fine." And so we started into the gallery. He said, "You must be in town for the NRA convention." I said, I don't know anything about that. And he said, the National Rifle Association's having a convention here in the city, and he said, "I thought you might be here for that." So we were looking at the art, and they were like the art show that was there. It was kind of big portraits of photographic portraits, black and white, and it was just pictures of like people's faces. There were sometimes full body shots, and next to each photo was a typed up biography. Now, the photos weren't anything that special, I didn't think, but the guy came up to us and said, "You want me to tell you about the show?" And I said, "Sure," because I really wasn't kind of getting what was going on. And it turned out it was more of a conceptual thing. So he was saying it's all about prejudice. He said how we judge people when we first see them based on how they look. And he's like, this guy here, he looks like he might be a gang member, but really he runs an orphanage. It was that sort of thing. And then he continued to talk to us about prejudice and not judging people. And the whole time he was doing that, I was looking at him thinking, you did the exact same thing to me when I walked in the door dressed like this. and you don't have the self-awareness to realize that you even did it. Both my wife and I thought it was funny when we left. But anyway, Rapidograph pens, highly recommend. 2 thumbs up, 5 stars for quality. Thank you for watching.